Hi, the question will appear on your screen in few seconds. Please pause this video to solve the question on your own, and once you are done, resume the video to check the solution. Here is the question. Let's start with passage analysis. 10 years ago, so we are talking about 10 years ago, so if it is 2026 right now, we are maybe talking about 2016, not maybe, we are talking about 10 years ago, 2016. The number of taxpayers in Green Space County. So we are talking about the absolute number of taxpayers, that is how many people paid taxes in this place, in Green Space County. And this number was slightly greater. Slightly greater means little bit more than the number of registered voters. That is how many people were registered as voters. So if we have to understand this with example, let's say if the number of registered voters was 100, then the number of taxpayers was slightly greater. So we can say it was 110, little bit more than registered voters. All right. The number of taxpayers has doubled over the last 10 years. Now, this number 110, it has doubled. So now it has become 220. While means we are going to read a contrast now. While the number of registered voters, so now we are going to talk most likely about the change in number of registered voters in this duration, and that is contrasting. So let's see what the contrast is. This number has increased, so it is 100 plus now, but so it has increased, it is in line with number of taxpayers, like that has increased, it has also increased, but so again the same contrast, at a lower rate than has the number of taxpayers. So this is the contrast, that it has not increased as much or at the same rate as the number of taxpayers has increased. So if we look at the rate of increase of taxpayers, we can calculate it because we are taking some examples. So we can calculate this rate, and this comes out to be 100%. So there has been a 100% increase in number of taxpayers. Now the rate for registered voters is less than 100. So let's consider it has it has increased by 90%. So what does that mean? It means that the number of registered voters now is 100 plus 90% of 100, which is 100 plus 90, which is 190. So while the number of taxpayers has doubled, and let me move it here. So we can move this here. The number of taxpayers has increased from 110 to 220. It has doubled. The number of registered voters has increased from 100 to 190. That is what the passage tells us. Now, with this understanding, let's move to updating our bridge table. If you understood the passage logic correctly and completely, mark a tick here. If you did not understand anything, or you missed understanding the rate, or you misunderstood it, or you understood it, so if you understood the passage logic correctly and completely, mark a tick here. However, if you missed anything in the passage compared to what we discussed, or you misunderstood anything, so you should have understood everything, nothing missed, and you should have understood everything correctly. If this was not the case, if you missed anything, mark across here and write down exactly what did you miss. Maybe you did not take examples to understand the situation, and that is why the passage was not clear to you. You missed understanding the rate, you missed comparing the rate, anything, whatever is there, write it here. And this will be your root cause for why you did not understand the passage logic properly. Now let's understand what the correct answer choice should convey. The question stem says, which of the following must be true in green space county? So something that is definitely true for green space county, that is what we have discussed here. If the statements above are true, that is if the passage is considered to be true, so we need to find an inference here, inference about green space county. So the correct answer choice will convey something that is definitely true as per the passage. So if there is anything, we will be evaluating answer choices. The answer choice that may or may not be correct, may or may not be true, will be eliminated. The correct answer choice will be definitely always true as long as the passage is true. So with this understanding, let's update our bridge table. If you understood what the correct answer choice needs to convey, mark a tick here. However, if you did not think about it or you misunderstood what the correct answer choice needs to do here, that is when you mark a cross here and write down that why did you not understand it? Are you not clear with inferences? Do you not understand the characteristic of inference, or whatever is the reason? Let's start with choice A. The number of taxpayers, so we are talking about the number of taxpayers is now, so we are talking about the number of taxpayers here. This we are talking about 2020. This number is now smaller than the number of registered voters. So we are saying that this number, which is 220 here, is smaller than, and this was 110, sorry. So it is smaller than the number of registered voters, which is 190. So is 220 less than 190? No. We know that the number of taxpayers, it was initially higher than number of registered voters, and then it increased at a higher rate. So it can never be true. So this is something that is definitely incorrect as per the passage, and therefore this choice cannot be the correct answer. If you selected choice A, then either your passage understanding was not correct, the numbers that you assumed, or if you did not assume the numbers, if you did not understand it with example, your passage understanding was either not correct, or you used some incorrect numbers, your calculation went wrong there, or you did not know what the correct answer choice needs to convey. Two reasons. Third reason, you did not understand what choice A is trying to say. You faltered here, and that is where you need to write down the explanation now, that why did you not understand choice A properly, what went wrong. Or the fourth reason, you did not gauge the alignment, you did not match this choice A with what the correct answer choice needs to convey. And again, if that was the case, you need to write it here, because initially when you start doing inference questions, you know what inference is, but when you are evaluating the answer choices, you forget what you need to find, what a correct inference needs to convey, and you get into cause and effect or something else, and you mark incorrect choices. So this is also a very important step, and if you are faltering at the step again and again, your corrective action is that you have to include this step. Whenever you are evaluating the answer choices, understand the meaning of choice of that particular choice, and then see if it actually matches what the correct answer choice needs to convey. So that would be the corrective action. Choice B. Everyone who is a registered voter is also a taxpayer. So what this choice is saying, that if these are all the taxpayers, then all the registered voters are also taxpayers, right? Now it may seem like that because registered voters are less, the number is less than that of taxpayers. However, the passage does not tell us that all registered voters are also taxpayers. It is very much possible that these are the registered voters and these are the taxpayers. There's only overlap between them, or maybe these are there's no overlap at all. These are the registered voters, these are the taxpayers. So any of these scenarios is possible, and that is why choice B is not definitely true as per the passage, and therefore choice B is incorrect. Now, if you selected choice B, most likely it was because of these numbers. You thought that because this number is less, that is why all of them are part of taxpayers. So this is you have to question yourself when you read this choice here. You know the numbers are less, it is possible, but is that the only scenario possible? You have to question yourself. Does the passage mention anywhere that all the registered voters are taxpayers, or every registered voter is a taxpayer, or is there any kind of information given to be sure about it? Just based on these numbers, you cannot say that this case is true. So please update your bridge table, and with that, let's move to choice C. Choice C, the proportion, so we are talking about some proportion. Let's understand what it is. The proportion of registered voters to taxpayers. So we are talking about the proportion of registered voters to taxpayers has increased over the last 10 years. So what it is saying, that this proportion was less in 2016 compared to 2026, right? Then only this we can say that it has increased, right? So let's calculate this proportion. So this proportion in 2016 was 100 upon 110, and the proportion in 2026 is 190 upon 220. So how can we compare this easily? Let's multiply this by 2. It would be 200 upon 220. This is in 2016, and for 2026 it is 190 by 220. Which one is higher? This one is higher. So the choice is opposite of what is true. The proportion was higher in 2016 compared to 2026, so the proportion has reduced. So this choice is conveying the opposite of what is true, and that is why this choice is incorrect. Now, if you selected this choice, then most likely the numbers you assumed were incorrect, or you did not calculate the proportion properly, or you ignored or missed something here while arriving at the correct at the final conclusion of whether this one was higher or this one was higher. So most likely these were the mistakes. Please go through your thought process and your analysis to understand where did you fall, why did you select a choice that is conveying the opposite of what is correct. Let's evaluate choice D now. The proportion of registered voters to taxpayers. So again, we are talking about this quantity, this proportion. It has decreased over the last 10 years. So as per choice D, RV by TP for 2016 was greater than RV by TP for 2026. And that is exactly what we found. While we were solving choice C, we found that this ratio was more in 2016 compared to 2026. So we can definitely say that it has decreased over the last 10 years. So this choice is definitely true as per the passage, and that is why it is the correct answer choice. If you rejected this answer choice, you need to understand why. This is a question that you need to answer. Why did you reject the correct answer choice? Most likely, you assumed some incorrect numbers, or you did not draw the correct inference or the conclusion. So, whatever is the reason, mention it here, because these proportions are important to understand. You are getting to learn about them using these easy questions, but these can be applied. If you understand them properly, completely, you will be able to apply these directly in more difficult questions. So that is why you need to understand these proportions and how these can change very clearly. Choice E, the proportion of registered voters to taxpayers. So again, we are talking about this proportion has remained unchanged over the last 10 years. So, while evaluating choice C, we saw that this proportion it has reduced, right? It has reduced over the last 10 years. So, we cannot say that it has stayed unchanged, and that is why choice E is not something that is definitely true and is incorrect. So, we are done with this question now, and you have your updated bridge table that tells you what kind of mistakes you made in this question. Hope you will be able to take the corrective actions for these mistakes and not repeat these mistakes in the other questions. If you need any help deciding the corrective actions, do let us know.